Welcome back to Project Fury, our ongoing restoration of a 1969 Fairline Fury sports cruiser. This episode we're continuing to prepare and construct the composite replacement for our rotten aft bulkhead. We're using 22mm Nidaplast panels with butt joints reinforced by resin sections of plywood. We took a paper template of the existing bulkhead and used those to cut out our panel sections. Once all of the parts are ready and we've removed the remains of the old bulkhead, we'll begin putting the new bulkhead in place. Well, after an hour or so of grafting away, I've cleared off all the edging on the aft bulkhead, and you can really see, the quality of the cut on the top side fiberglass is just abysmal, really. So that's going to need to be marked up and just buzz cut, square it up nicely. Got some screws to deal with down there and along the bottom. We knew they were there. We know what we're going to do with those. It's going to be more wooden inserts in the panels, which is slowing us down a teensy bit, but I am going to start removing this from the top downwards because it's not actually tabbed into the hull. You see where that orange tape is? Just below the shoulder line. It's tabbed in below the side deck but not above, so I'm just going to cut the top section out. Just get it out the damn way because it's a pain in the bum, and then we can also hopefully see what's going on with the headliner inside. So wifey's been working down here on the workbench, filleting out Nidaplast, cutting bits of ply, and we've got a lovely collection. Oh yes, I took the door off, by the way. There it is, got the holder off as well. So we've got a lovely collection down here of parts that are ready really to be painted with resin. So for me it's a bit of a coin toss whether to continue working on this, removing the bulkhead, or to resin those. I knew it was wrong. I just wasn't entirely sure how wrong. Well, we've done a hell of a lot today. Wifey's been busy working on these panels, which are going to go in this enormous gap, which is now here because I removed the vast majority of the aft bulkhead. It came out very easily. There were lots of screws to undo, some of which were buried under gel coat, but I managed to track them all down. And I've got all of them bar one out, and I can't be bothered to take the last one out because we're both absolutely exhausted. We've left the interior of the boat nice and tidy, or as tidy as I can manage. I'm not very good at tidying up. So wifey is going to be away for a few days. I'm going to have tomorrow off, but I will come back on Friday and 1 or 2 days over the weekend and get the new bulkhead hopefully put in. The weather's going to be good, no rain or anything, so I'm not worried about sealing anything up or any of that sort of jazz. We're going to have glorious summer weather for the next week or so, so let's make boats while the sun shines. well, I've rebaited out the honeycomb from this panel. I just need to go a little bit deeper. I'm about 8mm shallow, but I think just zhushing down with the with Oscar, just to detach the honeycomb, the remaining honeycomb from the edges, and it should compress down. And this is the last part that needs to be done. So after that, it will be a matter of painting these up with resin, maybe a little bit of sanding, just to make the fit a little bit snugger, a little bit better without the tops splaying out. But it's not too bad. Not too bad at all. I think a little bit of compression and we'll be absolutely fine. So let's get on with it. Okay, so all the butt joint wood is now sanded and cleaned and is sitting outside in the blazing sun. It's a little bit too hot outside at the moment to do any resin work. So what I'm going to do now is move these props. You can see, hopefully, or maybe you can see this one better actually. Yes, this prop I'm going to move to this hole. So I've got more room to work here, and then I'm going to cut out the rear section of this headliner. Right, that's the props moved. So I've got, I'm going to say about 1 metre, maybe just shy of 1 metre of working room between the edge of the cockpit and the props. I'm going to cut the back end of the headliner out, so I've got room to smoosh stuff into place. There's also a bit of the old bulkhead that or 2 bits of the old bulkhead that I can cut out to give myself even more room, because I'm going to need to tidy up the tabbing when I get the last of the old bits out. There you go. So with the headliner section cut out, I wanted to cut out, the next job is to have a bit of a tidy up and then slap some resin on the butt joint and door frame sections that wifey Charlotta spent so much time working on this week. A very quick stop to today's work because there's a storm coming over. The rain's just starting and we've been hearing rumbles of thunder for the last sort of 20 minutes, half hour. So I've just very quickly leaned a sheet of Nidaplast against the cockpit and where the aft bulkhead should be. I suspect I'm going to be holding on to that thing for dear life in a minute if the wind picks up. But at the moment the wind's coming from aft. It's actually, the wind is pinning it in place. You probably just hear it pattering away. It's actually quite romantic being on a boat in the rain, I always think, even if it is in this state. It's a good look at it, powerful. Here we are today, both in lovely spanky new blue Tyvek suits to protect ourselves from the epic amounts of dust that we're going to be causing today. Wifey's going to be grinding out the top side glass to a nice square edge. I'm going to be tidying up on the inside to prep the mating surfaces, and then we will cut out the shoulders of the remainder of the old bulkhead, do a dry fit construction of the bulkhead because we're sure it will need a little bit of trim for a better fit here and there. Well, that's pretty much all of the prep done on the inside of the cockpit. There's a few bits need patching because they're a bit thin and cracked and delaminated. So I'm going to crack on and do those now because they'll only take like 5-10 minutes. Right, time to cut. I'll start cutting this out. There we go. Here we are, it's Saturday. delays as usual because of weather and tiredness and all sorts of other nonsense. We've had a lovely tidy up, haven't we, dear? Yes sir, yes, let me show you. We've actually cleaned up the cockpit floor, which is wonderful. Not completely, but more than enough to do what we need to do, and we've cleaned up inside. A little bit of cutting, a little bit of resining on one more piece of butt joint wood, and then we will be able to start building the new bulkhead. And time is of the essence because it's going to smash it down with rain tomorrow, so we better get on with it. Quite a bit of this is going to be off camera by virtue of the fact that I'm nearly out of battery on my camera. My charger got damp and we just need to crack on with it, but I will film as much as I possibly can. Well, we're in the middle of the test fit phase, dry fit phase. A little bit of trimming here and there to get everything squared up, especially the door frame obviously needs to be square. But if I just you should be able to see here basically how this is working. We've got wood all the way along that, and that is a butt joint that will be resined in, and it will push up against the cockpit floor. This is really very exciting. This is so important to get this done, and once it is done, then we can move on to either the midships bulkhead just behind me, or we can start working on the hull, depending on what the weather's like basically. But it's very important that we get the cabin weather tight, because we had to spend an hour when we arrived trying everything out, but there we are. So let's boof on with it. Both very dusty monkeys today. It's Saturn day, and we've worked our backsides off all day getting this built. It's not in place fully, but all the joints are resined in, thickened resin, and everything fits at last after a lot of cutting and adjusting.
Nothing wrong with my template, promise.
No, there was nothing wrong with your template, it was my cutting, I promise you. So the next job is to, we've got actually two more sections to resin in place, and then I will be glassing inside and out in as few pieces as possible, and then coating it with thickened gel coat, which I can then fair back with a sander. Then it'll have white primer on it, and then topside paint eventually. So it's been a hell of a lot of work to get to this point. We've broken the back of it, thank God. We won't be here tomorrow on Sunday because it's going to side it down with rain, so we're just about to put a tarp over the back end of the boat to keep everything dry, because we had to dry everything up this morning when we arrived because I'm an idiot and I believed the weather forecast. But we've got a lot of work done, and it's over the next couple of days of work. It will be probably the biggest job struck off the list, which will be fantastic.
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 Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. It's something like that. But we're very stiff and very sore, and I'm quite itchy. Are you itchy today?
No.
I'm
I've
very.
just got knackered knees.
Knackered knees, knackered shoulders.
And feet.
And feet.
I gotta move.
And hair. Alright, okay.
Seriously, I had to move.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's all good.